Hello everybody, and so in this course we will actually learn how you can use easily but also efficiently a GitHub action. So I will show you what is GitHub Actions. So this is really handy for continuous integrations, or just to test your piece of code. So you have a lot of unit tests, and every time someone create a pull request, so open a pull request, or when you push some code to your branch, well, the GitHub action workflow will be executed. And this is actually continuous integrations. It's actually known as CI, continuous integration. And here, GitHub Actions, so that's actually an overview. In our case, in this course, we will learn how to implement it to an existing project. So in my case, I have this project, as you can see here, EU VAT, so tax number validator. So actually that project EU is that one. You see, it's actually this one. And we'll actually add a action here easily for PHP to run actually the unit test we have here. So how to do that? Well, it's quite easy. First, you will have to create a GitHub folder. So to do so, we can even use the terminal, or maybe if you prefer with the UI. So here we'll do .github, and inside of it we'll have a folder workflows. So I don't know if in the doc they mention that. Let's see, and we'll make it a little bit bigger because it's a bit small. Perfect. So workflows, actions, but normally it has to be always in the action folder. So here in the workflows folder, sorry. So it has to be named like this, workflows. So do they mention it somewhere? The architecture, how it has to be built. So here, that's actually a really basic workflow. Yeah, so you see, create a GitHub workflows directory in the repository of your GitHub. Yes, that's good. And so for us, it will be a test. So the name, it will be test.yaml. It will be YAML, so this one, test.yaml. And first, you have like the name. Here you see they mention just GitHub action. It's just for a demo. For us, the name will be, well, like test, for instance. Usually when you have more than one word, if it's different than alphanumeric, you have to use quote. So you have to surround your text by quotes. So it can be like this, like my tests. But it will pass also if you don't use quotes, but it's always nice to use good practices. And then we will start to write our action, our GitHub action. So the first you have to mention where you want that action to be executed. So here it's only on push. For us it will be push and pull request. So actually the square brackets, it's actually an array, and we mention push, and pull request in singular, like this. Perfect. And then we have the jobs. And the jobs inside will have a lot of different steps you want GitHub to execute. Because GitHub, when it sees your workflows folder and you have a file inside, it will automatically trigger that file. You don't have to do any setup. That's why GitHub Actions are extremely popular. It's because you just need to create a .github folder inside workflows. You need to do that because you can have different files and folders which are not related with workflows inside .github, such as issue templates, founding, security.md, integration, and so on. But in workflows, it's only the kind of workflows you have with GitHub Actions. So actually, this is why the name is workflows. And then in test actions, test.yaml, GitHub will automatically trigger the file and will check the few steps. So in our case, we want to execute the unit test. Actually, it's funny because it has been a while I haven't executed this project. I just cloned it. So now I will just first do a compose install to install already the dependencies. Oh, you see, I have already an issue because yes, I will just have to update. Yeah, actually, I do it exactly with you. So here I will actually do PHP 8 as well. It can be 8. So normally this should work. Let's see if it does. And yes, because PHP unit is only compatible. This is a bit annoying. I wonder otherwise we have to migrate to maybe the best. I will just quickly migrate PHP unit to 9.5. That will be easier. And in my test file, yes, let's first install the new PHP unit. In the meantime, still have an issue, and that's actually from fake. So I will also do compose install. I will fake. It's actually phake. Maybe next time I should use a different repo. You know what? Actually, for this test, because it's a really quick one, I will use a different repo, and after we can come back here in this particular case. Yes, I will just use a really simple library, another one. At least I know this one is compatible with my current PHP version because I'm running on PHP 8, as you can see. So this one will work and it will be fine. I wasn't careful enough. However, you can see here PHP unit is 9.5 and the minimum PHP requirement is 7.1. So we'll just upgrade that one. Otherwise, we'll have an issue when we will execute the GitHub action. So we first change that one. In the README, I will just mention that now it requires PHP 7.3. And now we are good to go. So let's do quickly the same step here in this repo. So GitHub, and then a folder workflows, and then inside I will have test.yaml, and here the name. So first the name of your GitHub action. It will be just test for me on where do you want that action to be triggered. Well, for us it's push and pull request. Normally they mention it here, sorry, in the doc. I'm sure, oh no, they don't. But push they do, yes. And then jobs, and the jobs actually, it depends on what OS you're running and so on. We are also about to, we will have to use PHP. So that's actually the action I use for PHP. It's the only one I believe, and it's really handy, that one. And there are a lot of different steps. So we'll use exactly the same. So let's see first if we have a nice example. Oh, here, jobs. You see, so actually what we'll do is quite actually handy. It's a bit similar for the OS. Windows latest for us, it will be Linux. So that will be a bit similar. So run on, it will be similar. Runs on. Normally that's the same here. If you have a look, you see. And for us, it will be, well, we'll do Linux, but you can, use the one you wish. Ubuntu latest. And then you have the steps, of course. So as you can see here, first, yeah, you can use the name before. So name will be running PHP, for instance, or can be anything else. And so steps will be first. Oh yeah, here to be setup PHP and use. So use is actually, it's the name of the action, because with GitHub Action, you have a lot of external actions. We use also another one, which is GitHub Checkout. So GitHub Checkout action, that one. And we use that one as well. And V2 is actually the latest version of the action. If you have a look here in to releases, so maybe I will make it a little bit bigger. You see here, release, yeah, one of the latest version are 2 point something. So we'll just mention 2, and then as you can see, there are a lot of different samples actually. You can have a look. Also, strategy is nice because the strategy, it depends what you want to set up. We actually use that one. I will show you why. It's because here, when you use strategy, you can just create a lot of, in the matrix, a lot of different kind of variables that we'll use for the strategy of the GitHub action. So operating system is quite handy. In my case, I can just rename to OS. It's even shorter. And so here, instead, I will use this one, $, curly bracket twice, and then I will have just matrix and dot OS. Normally it should be like this. Maybe I will add space. It's actually more readable to do that way. And the same for the PHP versions. I will use PHP 7.3 because actually the oldest version, it's from PHP 7.3. So we want also to test our project on PHP 7.3, and then we'll have 7.4, 8, and 8.1. And here, so we'll do like this. And here it will be PHP versions. So it will be here, PHP versions. Beautiful. And PHP unit, well, it depends if you want to, we can specify it here as well. So, it's like a variable. You can just do PHP unit versions. And here for us, it will be just 9.5. And that's actually the latest. So you just mentioned 9.5 because actually GitHub, this action, the setup PHP will actually run PHP unit with the version, the specific version you will specify. So PHP unit, that one will use it later actually. Later on, here it was like to include this one we won't use actually. It's not really necessary, at least not with what we are doing. Now let's keep it quite simple. So here, name, that's the version. Here we are. So after that, we'll continue. So now I want to mention with what I want to run this. So normally, yes. So PHP version. So here I will have a with and with what PHP version. So I will mention PHP version. And here I will reuse the same variable, but for PHP version this time. And so it will run those versions. It will be exactly like this. Then we have extension we can mention. So here for us it will be maybe just MB string. That's the basic one. It could be also zip if you want to add another one. It can be like intl, like intl. That library, I never know how to pronounce this. intl probably. It's a library for international. It's for the date, I believe. Oops. Believe. I don't use that one very often. Native format, yes. But we won't use that one anyway, because our library doesn't use it. Actually, technically, we don't even, as you can see, you can just see what's the requirements, and you can know maybe if you wrote your library, what extensions you use. In my case, it's none, because this library is really simple. It's just a constant. It's just a class with constants. So we actually don't even need extensions. And then we can have tools, and tools, it will be actually the list of tools we wish. So for us, it will be a composer v2. If you have a look here, normally to dimension, yes, like similar to this. And it will be also PHP unit. And then here, for the version, again, we can use the variable, and it will be that one. PHP unit, actually, it will be like this, PHP unit version. It can be with S. It's like, it's up to you, but now we just have one. So like this. Perfect. Oh, that's actually tools. And what else? Coverage. You can use coverage. It can be none to disable it, or maybe you want to use. Oops. I think I have this. Oh no. And yeah, you can use none to disable it, or you can use xdebug as well, like xdebug like this. In our case, we'll just disable it for now. We don't need it, especially for this kind of really simple class library. We definitely don't need it. So first name, it will be PHP version, and here it will just be run, I think so. And then what else can we do? We can check the name of the PHP version as well as a process in our GitHub action. Oh, by the way, first, I just noticed we forgot to do the checkout, the Git checkout, and we actually have to do it because we want to check out in our master branch. To check out in different branches. We'll just do this, Git checkout. Checkout first, and checkout here we use the actions, the checkout action, and again the v2 is because at the moment the version of checkout is v2 something. You can use v1 as well, or just master, which is the current branch, but that's the current working branch, but that one is not stable, so let's leave it on v2. And here I just noticed I did a mistake. I need actually a dash like this, as you can see, and then uses here. Okay, and we'll just fix that. Perfect. And now I will just add another step to check the PHP version, and then PHP v. And we can do the same for Composer. We can also check to display in the output of the action, of the GitHub action. So we show you for one of my class how it works, and you will see. So for instance, what do? I have, for instance, this one. Let's go here, and you will see I have a few steps. If we go here, and one of the steps will be, you see, check PHP version, and then check PHP extension, and so on. And those steps are actually from, if we go to our workflows, they're actually from here, you see, all those kind of steps, and we'll add actually the same. So now we are doing The same for composer. So composer version, and here you can do like, yeah, check. We can also use check, then check composer. It's really up to you. No, it's just a name. And then here to be one and to be composer V. It's funny because composer, to check the version, is uppercase V. Otherwise, you have to do the long form. I mean the long format, the long flag. But that one doesn't work. With composer is V uppercase. It's not a mistake, actually, it's correct. Then we can check, I will actually close this. We don't need that one anymore for now. We can check now if the composer file is valid. That's also a nice check. Check composer composer JSON log validate validate, and here we it will just do run composer validate strict. Normally it's like this. Let's have a look in the comment and let's see if oh yeah, that's because if I do composer composer, but your composer log has some error. Okay, interesting. If I do composer install, and now if I run again composer, I will just run composer validate. Oh, it has to be, I will do composer update then. And let's see. Oh, here I forgot the colon. And here now let's do validate. That works. And if I use the strict mode, strict is actually just trickier. I mean, just more a bit more strict. If you have a look, actually, if I do this, you will see composer strict for the validation. Oops. Obviously, when I have too many windows, that's a problem. Strict for validate. Here, you see, return a non-zero exit code. Yeah, for the warning, actually. It's also for the warning as well as the errors. So that works. And now we can install the dependencies. So here, the name will be, well, it will be, oh, actually, I think, yeah, we need a space here. And install dependencies. Yes, just dependencies, or can be installed, yeah, composer if you want to be more precise. And then run and composer install, and you can have a few flags you can use. You can use no interaction, no progress. That's nice too. It's just handy because here, you know, we don't need those output. And no suggest, I think, no suggest. Let's have a look in the doc. No suggest. No suggest. Let's have a look on Google. Composer, no. It's when you have some suggestions like to donate something with composer, that hides all suggestions when running composer. When you run console and composer, so you see that's handy. So we no suggest. We can use that flag as well. Beautiful. And then we have to run the test. So in my case, in my composer.json, I added a script in the script object. In there, in that property, I have a test, that's a name, and so it executes vendor bin PHP unit. So it's the same if you do composer run test, it will actually run the name here. If you're familiar with npm, it's exactly the same. npm, you also can have a script object where you mention some kind of comments, custom comments. So, you know, some specific comments can be also like, I don't know, any other kind of comments. in our case, it will be name run test suite. Yeah, unit test can be, so it will exactly execute that one unit test if you prefer. It doesn't really matter the name, and then run, it will be composer. It will do composer run test, or can be just test actually, just like this. If you see here, if I do composer test, it will be the same. However, if you don't have that command in your composer.json file, what you can do, you can just run this. Because now you installed your action is, the GitHub workflows action installed composer. So we have the dependencies and we have the PHP unit dev dependency. So we can also do composer, we can also do run like this. But in our case, because it's a better practice as well to have a comment here in your composer.json file, so we are just simply doing composer test, or could be like run script for us to be composer test. Exactly like this. So now let's see, something nice to do also is in your Git attributes, we don't want to have in our, when someone installs your library, or when you export the main zip of the library. So when you go, for instance, in my case, if I go to my library, I will show it to you. And we don't want to have those kind of files, that unnecessary files, to be present for everybody. To be there for anyone. So the name of the library is data type, so it's that one. If I do download zip, it will actually do Git Archive, and Git Archive, it's actually used by Composer. So when someone installs your library in another project, you just want the files that they need, but not the testing files. So that's why we will ignore that one for the, it will actually be ignore, dev testing files for distribution, for the distribution versions actually builds. Let's do. And that's why in our case we also want to ignore GitHub, so that folder. It's actually, although it's a folder, you could also do this. At least people see it's a folder, but you don't have to. Now it's nice because it's more readable. We see, oh, that's a folder, that's just a file. But because on Unix, like Linux operating systems, a file and a folder, it's the same. That's why you can just do this, but it's a better practice. It's nice at least to have a slash before, at least people can see, okay, yeah, this is a folder. You could also do this actually. So yeah, that's it. Now let's just commit it and let's see what it does. We can commit everything. And so we just do like add testing CI GitHub action, and let's do git push. Let's just wait that your code is pushed. Now it's the case. So now let's go to our library. Let's go to action. I have an error. That sometimes happens. Don't worry, but it says, where is your error? Line 6. You have an error. Okay, so let's have a look in line 6. Have probably made something not right. Or name first. Okay. Line 6, run on. Oh yes, actually it needs run. Let's have a look again to the doc. So that's my video. Let's have a look GitHub Actions. So for us it was PHP setup. Let's have a look in there. And in jobs, because there is a full example, you see it's run on. So you have run first. So that was a problem. And then we just indent that one. So it should be just like this normally. And then you have strategy, you have the matrix, and then you have the steps. And the name, I just made sure for the name, PHP, actually, yeah, we can just get rid of this name. We don't need it. I mean, it could be useful, but not for us. And here, include matrix. I think we can get rid of the include section as well, like what we said previously. So let's just get rid of this. And now run steps, that should be on the same level. Yes. And then the name. Oh yes, steps actually, they don't indent. Okay, so we can just, yeah, actually it does. Yeah, let's leave it as it is. I think that's just an error from this example, but we need a space after step because we have a colon. So let's just add the changes we did. That's, just the difference. The difference is huge because we just added a new block. I mean, this new run section. So let's commit it. Fix. Missing run. Yes, to be I don't know how to, what's the name? Input, no, section, let's say. Okay, and let's push it. Push. And let's see now, you see GitHub actually executes your action really quickly. So now we can just do, let's go back to our library and let's see here in actions. I have another error that sometimes it happens. You have line 15. Okay, so let's see line 15. At least it's nice because you learn also how to debug because it's not really clear the errors. Oh, I think the issue use checkout name uses, and I believe it has to be like this after. That's for the name. As you can see, I have a small, quite a lot of indentation issue. So that's okay. Actually, we just get rid of this. Oops. So now here, let's see where we are, and let's try to add the different indentation fixes I just did. You see, sometimes it can be annoying when you have YAML indentation issues, but you can just use an online service or, on the website or just with PHP Storm. And let's push our indentation fixes. Perfect. So that will be more handy. Okay, now it's pushed. Beautiful. So here, you can see in strategy actually, I can change, I can add the name. It will be later because I did a mistake as well. Name has to be just before steps. And the name of our job is actually to be shown in GitHub Action. But this was a mistake. It was just on the wrong place. So let's see now, or it's still failing actually. That's okay, sometimes when you write the YAML file by yourself, this happens. So here, let's see, and we check the PHP version, and then with tools, yeah, indentation is still not exactly the same, so that has to be changed. And that one as well, it wasn't correct. And then to coverage, because YAML file are, usually the YAML indentation is quite sensitive. The indentation is really important, and otherwise it would break because it doesn't know the different sections. So actually, yes, coverage wasn't on the same line, so that has to be fixed. Perfect. So let's move, and then PHP version as well. It has to be moved in one indentation also. And then here, yes, now it looks better. I will remove that space. Let's add the changes. Okay, you see that's a difference we did for the indentation. So fix indentation, that's a commit message. Yes, syntax error because it was giving us some YAML syntax issues. So now we just do git push. Let's have a look on GitHub if it works. Oh, there is still actually an error. That's okay. Let's see what is the error now. And yes, oh, that one. Okay, you see line 23, column 13, at least it's quite explicit. A mapping was not accepted. Let's see here. Composer v2. Yeah, there's a problem from there. Okay, so actually here we are fixing the first few issues, but first we will improve the script for the speed by adding prefer dist. Prefer dist will just download only the distribution files for our third dependencies, so for our third-party libraries, and prefer source will also download the testing file, so that's not necessary. And here the issue we had is because there was a space after PHP unit, and that's why GitHub Action, when it was running our test.yaml file, it was complaining because there was a space, and no, there is no space after before the version number. And here, yes, there was just plural instead of singular. There we just changed the name of composer test. And so here actually I will show you a prefer install. So when you use actually source, it will actually download everything. So as you can see, composer will install from the source and not from the distribution file. Let's have a look now probably on Stack Overflow. So let's Google it. And here, so should I use or not? So here it says explicitly that usually it's quicker to download because when you use prefer dist actually, because prefer dist when it downloads, like might not include the tests in the distribution, but that's fine because for us, what we don't need to have our third dependencies to have it. So now let's do git push. And I will go to my repository first. And here I will show it to you. Actions. And let's have a look. You see now it works. Oh, amazing. And how many? Yes. For all of them, for the versions, that's beautiful. Perfect. And you see if you do check composer version, yes, that's fine. 2.2, 2.4, beautiful. And here for the test, and you will see all the tests are running actually. Wow, that's wonderful. Amazing. So everything works for now. That's beautiful. So now I wanted to show you that you can also use the action cache, and cache allows you to cache the composer install. When composer does install, I will show you an example here. Actually, it can consume a lot of CPU. So you can use this action cache, and it helps actually to cache all the dependencies when you install the dependencies, when you have to run your the dependencies of your library. So here, for instance, you have to install the dependencies with Composer of the library. So what we do, you see, like in my case, I don't have a lot because I just have basically in this class, I only have PHP unit, but sometimes you have a lot of dependencies. And so it slows down the action every time you do a git push or a pull request. It will slow down the GitHub workflows action, and that's why it's a good idea also to here just after the composer, when we validate the composer file, it's a good idea to add the action, the GitHub action cache. In that way, you will cache all the dependencies when composer is running, and so your action will be running much quicker. So, you know, just copy paste this file, that one, I mean, that snippet is just what you need. In my case, as you can see, I did it a little bit different, but usually, you know, you need obviously the ID. So what you need is first, sorry, my bad, you need to get the composer cache directory ID. So here, in my case, the name, I named it composer cache simply, and then you just echo set output, you set the dir name with cache. So that's from the config of Composer, the cache files dir directory, and here you will just cache all the dependencies from the cache directory. So as you can see, we reuse it. So here we use steps and we do composer cache, which is the ID, and then output the directory. That's the path. The path is from here, and then we just use the key, and that's it actually. And then we continue what we did before. And here on the operating system on the top, for us, by default, we just mentioned Ubuntu latest, which is the latest Ubuntu version. But if you wish, you can also add, you can also test on Windows latest, and can be also on Mac latest. Actually here, now it's lowercase. So if you check on the documentation, GitHub Actions, workflows in term. Okay, let's have a look here. And it's normally here. The doc is really nice. So you will see for us like macOS latest. You see macOS latest? And you also have Ubuntu latest, and you have Windows latest. That's the one you can use. So for us, we just make sure it's correct. So that's good to have. Here, actually, I just realized I have it in plural, so I will have it in singular because there is just one version we want for PHP unit at a time, so it doesn't really make sense to have that variable in plural. So beautiful. And that's it actually. And we test from 7.3 until 8.1 because at the time I record this video, the latest PHP version is 8.1, and 7.3 is because the PHP unit version we use, 9.5, requires at least PHP 7.3. So that's why also in our composer file, we mentioned here 7.3. So now we can commit this, and let's have a look again if our GitHub action passes. And that's for the cache, as you can see. So here I will just mention cache composer dependencies. Perfect. And I will just do git push. And obviously, yeah, I could also have mentioned in the commit message that we added different operating systems, but here it's just for the example, but it's always nice to be very specific when you what you do inside of a commit. In case someone is looking like for a bug, at least if every commit message has good keywords, it's much easier to debug and to know from where that issue was introduced in a specific commit. So now let's just wait for the GitHub action. It's running. And yes, it passes. So now we can click here again. We can go like, I don't know, 7.4. And everything passes actually. Unit test, you can just click on that one to run that one. And yes, it passes. Oh, by the way, one last thing I noticed. Do you remember we added more operating systems here? And I just noticed that actually we forgot to update this one, Ubuntu latest. So you can actually just use the matrix, because otherwise we could just have done that way and have removed this one. That would have worked, but what we did is just pointless, because if here you still mention Ubuntu latest, this one will be used, because in the matrix it's just a kind of like, it's just variables. So what we are going to do here is just to change to this. And that way we will run against the different operating systems. So let's just commit again this one, and you will see when we will run the action. So I will just get the latest commit. So update operating systems. Perfect. And let's just push it, and you will see when GitHub we run our different actions, it will be also against Windows and macOS. Let's just wait that one. So yes, now it passes as well. So that's really good. And here you should see, you see now we can see Ubuntu latest, Windows latest, which is amazing, and macOS latest. So this is really handy to have a name for each job, and the name of each job is from here. The name we do PHP and test on, and that's the OS. Doing that way, we always see what test is running and what test is not running. So that's also really handy to have. Here, I just wanted to show you a small handy thing about GitHub Actions, the workflows. It's because you can see easily, you see here, when you do a git push, if it fails or if it passes. And you see here, it passes, and that's amazing. The test, all the tests around the different platforms passed. Here as well, you see when we go to all the commits, all of them passed. However, there on that other repo I did, it doesn't pass. And you can see here as well, you have a red cross because it fails. Yes, you see, and then you can go to details, and you will actually see that it's actually the issue is from a composer. The file is not valid. There's an issue with the version. That's it for today, and I really hope it helps.